January of 42 in Afrika. We're halfway through the turn. I've started doing these halfway turns because the German turns are the more interesting. Rommel got withdrawn back to talk to Hitler, but through the exploitation phase, the Axis was able to pull around the Almhofa line, and now they're actually out of supply other than whatever they have stacked with them, which I think is nothing at this point. I can peek. But that's really, really bad. That's an indication they have to get out of there. There is still a gap open, so they can stumble their way out, but that's going to move it over to the Alexandria area, which may be impregnable. The river, I believe you cannot attack across, which to me means if you build a line along the river line, it's over. Right? You can move across it, you just can't fight across it. So the Allies have enough units to prevent the automatic victory. But the thing is, if they're bottled up in Alexandria, they lose the game. So the Germans can play the same trick. Of course, the Allies can slide down, through a different route. But if the Allies let themselves get bottled up in this little triangle, then you can certainly use the Axis troops to make it so they cannot get out. What else do we have? We have some Italian and German units moving forward to the front. Supply has been good enough for long enough, and we can see some down here, that there's some more on the way, that they're willing to move another supply points worth of units up there, back up to the 4 supply points. That might not be a great idea, but as far as I can tell, this is when the game's going to be won or not. So I want to have fresh stuff up there. I want to be able to make more attacks. All right, on to the British turn. So yeah, the Allies, or the Brits, abandoned the Almhofa line and have now set themselves up. Sorry about the glare. It's this damn map, the lamination. Set themselves up blocking the roadways to Alexandria. Now, it's possible to cross the river, but what's impossible is to maintain supply once you're across the river. You don't need supply until after the turn, but it's going to make it damn near impossible to make an attack on Alexandria. Cairo is wide open. There just wasn't, there weren't enough British units to cover all the bridges there, but it doesn't matter. The auto win is Alexandria. The Brits are going to have a hard time getting out of there, but I don't see how the Germans and Italians can possibly get there. At the end of the German side of February, they managed, excuse me, to clear the road from Cairo up to Alexandria. They used a couple air points and blew up the one unit that was defending that. Some definite thought in using an exploitation action to move a relatively large force up and across the river and maybe even attack this unit. Attacking the unit seemed really like a bad idea because the Brits have 5 air points left. And leaving an unsupplied stack there of good stuff, because it would have to be good stuff if it's exploit capable, and if it's able to do anything once it's over there, seemed like a good way to lose those units. I think it would be maybe the only chance of taking Alexandria and getting the real win out of this situation, but I'm not willing to throw away the lesser win that I think is guaranteed by sitting at Almhofa and fortifying there. Well, fortifying is a questionable concept, because just keeping this army supplied and its backup couple divisions, it's definitely still straining the German shipping resources, and actually building boxes is a tough call for the Germans. Okay, jumping forward to June of 42, basically things have remained pretty static, with the Axis centered around the Alpha line, and the Brits and their allies sitting in Alexandria, basically, and Cairo left alone. Got some air fighting back and forth in each case, but that's about it, just plinking off. The Axis is definitely having some supply trouble. They're barely maintaining the force supply turn they need to pump into 3 of it back over to supply these guys, and 1 to supply their little Tobruk backup. On top of that, we're seeing it's mainly British units coming in, not the spilled guys. There may be enough Brits that an attack is about to be launched. It's got to happen fairly soon. Granted, you can cover a lot of map pretty quickly, but to be sure that the break happens, that enough assaults are in line, that the attack can actually happen, there aren't that many turns left, and the Brits really need to get, I believe, as far as Benghazi to win. Over here. And the Axis has to hold as far as Bardia. I'm not positive about the Benghazi, but either way, Tobruk is the final goal for the Brits. I mean, they might go further, but Tobruk is definitely what they're looking at right now. And it might be hard to reach there, fighting their way through. This unit, the Axis forces are in pretty good shape, actually. Other than the supply issue. And as they get closer to Bardia, their supply issue becomes easier. But they don't want to give up that ground if they can help it. The problem is they've been getting crap for shipping overall. 1 or 2 for the last couple turns. That's what's really killed them. There's a stockpile of supply in Tobruk. Alright, but I'm hoping things will break soon, because we've gone several months without anything happening, basically. So we're finally seeing some action here. During June, the English came out and smacked Rommel and pushed him back. He had a pile of Italian motorized, mechanized units. They just really caused casualties. They didn't even really go for the terrain. Trying to outflank doesn't really work well. This Italian infantry holding the line here. So instead they went for a frontal attack against really the heaviest stuff. Softened it up a little bit with the air points the Germans had used theirs to blink at the Brits. I guess they could have just held off, but in order to have better odds. But had they done that, it just meant less of a bombardment. So it was an effective attack. It, all told, killed about 5 steps, which is pretty impressive. But it's not gaining any ground. I'm not sure how to gain ground here facing an effective foe. The Brits had so little there, even though they had the boxes. Their strength was just so weak. Right now, attritioning this is going to be an expensive and painful proposition. So the English pushed forward in the south this time, they had enough units to be able to attack on both sides, sending enough units there and once again pushed a new stack of German units that Rommel threw in the way back. A hard call for me. This is all artillery, this stack. The stack next to it is mainly artillery with some infantry to back it up. Maybe some armor too. Either way though, this central stack here was eligible to be exploited over. Doing so would have probably put the Brits into a questionable position. I chose not to take that risk. At the very least, being in this hole seemed like a bad idea. So there was no advance. We're doing this very cautiously, very carefully, with the intention of causing casualties that the Germans simply aren't going to be able to recoup. Question is there enough time? Or should I be taking those risks? I'm not sure. Right now, it feels like I should be taking it careful. September of 42, and the new line that the Axis pulled back to is a little bit stronger. It's able to repulse the English attack against Rommel's stack this time. In part because the Germans kept all their planes for defense against that. What did happen though, the Italians defending the south collapsed, and actually have an overrun potential there. I don't think I finished the turn yet. I'm thinking about seeing if I can do an overrun. Well, no, I can't do an overrun. I can pull one unit up, which I'll do. That armor unit in the back is going to move up a space. That's it.